Alright, let's get started. Today we're gonna do a hog killing demonstration. This is a little bit different from what we normally do. Normally the hog is not split in between, but where we got it from, that's what they did. So we'll try to explain a little bit as we go along what we're doing. To get the hog to this point, we have to have the hog scalded. We have a large vat, sometimes a barrel. The hog will be put into the water approximately 140 to 150 degrees. We want to loosen the skin and the hair, but we don't want to set the hair. When you set the hair, you have got all kinds of bad problems going on. So what we'll do is we'll put the hog in the vat, we will scald him, we will take him out, and we will have, let's see if I can find it. I didn't bring it. Hog scraper, which will round things on a handle, and you scrape the hog as rapidly as possible to get the hair off. Once the hog has been scraped, we will hang him up by heel strings, which is right here. We put a gamble in it. A gamble is a little stick about this long. It's sharp on each end. We put him up on a pole and hang him. Then we would take hot water, put on the hog, and shave the hog so all the hair has been shaved off. His hair is completely gone. Once we get to that point, that's the first day. We let them cool overnight, and then the next day we start working on it. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to take off where we start the second day. Like I said, this has already been split, which isn't normal for a hog killing, but we'll work with what we've got. The first thing we normally do with the hog is what we call fleecing the hog. We will use a knife like this. Now the reason we use knives like this is because they're somewhat flexible, we can follow bone good, and they hold an edge real well. I'm going to show you what you don't want. Do not come to a hog killing with this. This is a custom made skinning knife where I used to skin steers that weigh 1,000 pounds. Roll the hide off. It's not worth 5 cents for a hog killing. It's too wide, too thick, completely inflexible. You don't want it because you can't follow the bone. So we're going to go in here. We got two different sizes. This one you usually cut the large cut. This is smaller where we can more maneuverable. I can work around bone in tight places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fleece the hog, which is the internal fat on the hog has to come out. We just pull this right out. We pull this fat out. And this fat is used in making the lard, which is over in that pot over there. Cut this off like this. This fat off like this. Then we put it in a bucket. That's what they carry over there. The next thing we do, now if y'all see I got gloves on, I'm not trying to do a Michael Jackson impersonation. This is protect my hand. It also allows me to grip the meat a little bit better. You try to get in there and grip it and you make a miscut, you're going to end up with fingers gone. Not a good thing to happen. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the tenderloin. Now you're going to see this in the store. Sometimes it'll say tenderloin, sometimes it'll say loin. But this is the best part of the hog. The tenderloin is the best part of the hog. It's just a small muscle, so we can't go too far back till we'll get into the ham. Alright, here we go. This piece of meat right here, that is the best part of the hog. Bar none. Alright, one more each side back, buddy. Right there. Alright. Alright, here we go. We got two tenderloins. Now what we're going to do with these is they're going to that stove and we're going to cook them right now. So if you're lucky, you might get a sample of this. Alright. We've got our hog pretty much fleeced. We got a little more fat here we need to get out of the way. But the hog has to be cut into three, what we call primal cuts. We cut it in three different pieces. So we'll take this knife, and we're going to take the head off. Then we take the middle part out, and this is the part we're going to work on first, because we're going to cook some ribs right now. Let me get over here. You know, a hog head works on a swivel. You know, a hog can't raise his head but so high, but it goes down. It works like a shovel, like a steam shovel, just like this. Where we want to hit is right where his head goes like that. There's a bone there. It's kind of circular. It works on a ball. That's where we want to hit. So we're going to take his head off, and let's see. We're going to try it right here. All right. All right, now there's the bone right there. That's the bone. If you can see it, there's a bone right there. There's where we hit now. We're going to cut around it. What the heck? Like this. Oh, what the heck in my house? Now that bone, see, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's how it is. Now we're going to have to slide this hog. Grab on two legs. Grab hold of it. Slide it. Slide it this way. Slide this way. A little more. A little more. All right. It's not going to give by itself, so we're going to help it along. Hold it head. No, you got it. Oh, one ahead of my house. Okay, you need to move out of the way. So there it is. That's the head. Now they've taken part of the head. It's usually cut into two pieces. It's cut right here to my quarter of a mile on both sides. That's the jowl. If you've ever seen a hog jowl in the store hanging up, that's where it comes from. This part of the hog was usually used as a seasoning meat. It would be packed in salt, and it would be used as seasoning. We'll do that later. All right. Now we're going to get into the middle part of the hog. You want to cut the hog. What we're going to do is this part right here and up here. This is the hams. This is the shoulders. This middle part is the middle of the hog. We're going to process that first. So we're going to cut right about here on this side. Now in the old days, they would take a hatchet or an axe. So it's all. This is a lot better. This is a regular meat saw, and you see it doesn't have a screw at the end. So it's on a cam action. That cam pulls tight, pulls the blade tight. This is a 12-tooth. Any of y'all go buy one, a 10 or 12 tooth is all you want. Any more aggressive or less aggressive, it's just not going to do it. So we're going to cut right across here. It's all right. You can back off. It's all right. All right, you can do it. We cut through the bone, and then we slice it. That hand sounds good. Now this meat is nice and firm because it's been under refrigeration. All right, there's one part. Now let's pull this back, and we're going to cut up here. Now you want to watch where you're going to be cutting your shoulder because of what's going to come later. So we're going to cut right here. Right here. Normally this carcass is a little different. It's pulled tight together. But we're going to cut it right here. Bone's tougher than it looks. Okay, we're through. Now, we'll take our knife and we'll do the same thing we did back there. We'll cut through it like this. Pull through. You got one little bone right here wants to be aggravating. There we go. All right. Now, when I was doing livestock judging back in the 70s with Future Farmers America, we were fortunate enough to go to national competition. We won state. What you're seeing right here is what we were looking for in our livestock judging. What we call the primal cut. The hams, the loin, and the shoulders. That was the primal cut to the hogs. Everything else is just, kind of extra. So we're going to start on the middle part today because we're going to do something a little different. All right, I want y'all to look this end right here. There's your pork chops. That's where your pork chops come from. It's the loin. So since this is made a little different, we're going to cut right down the middle. All right. Okay, there's the loin. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people y'all seeing this. Well, we didn't do it like that. We did it some other way. Everybody had their own way. Every family had their own way they wanted to do things. Every woman had the cuts of meat that she liked cooked, how she wanted to cook it. So that's what her husband did. She told him what to do. He did it. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that may have been done. Now this part right here, this is part of the middling right here. We're going to trim off this edge a little bit. Just like that. This happens to be a female hog. So we trim off the bottom part right here. This would go to the house where the women would process the meat. They would skin this back and separate the lean meat from the fat. The fat is being cooked over there on the other side. That was one of the last things that was done. But they would do the separating. Okay? Now, this is like, it's cut a little different, so we're going to have to do a little different. I'm going to cut out the pork chop. And what we do is, if you can see it, if everybody can see the end of that loin, you can see the pork chop there. Okay, we're going to cut in here. We're going to take this out right here. We'll take this pork chop right out. Let's see. Here. Okay, I think we're through. Then we take out this. There's another little bone. This will be aggravating. In the old days, they wouldn't have a meat saw. They would use a meat cleaver, a hatchet, or axe. You go back to colonial times, they would have something like a broad axe, like this gentleman over here's got. He would take and chop it. That's fine. If they had a saw, they would use it, trust me. Because using a hatchet or a saw like this it's very difficult to get it right. So here we go. Yeah. All right. When you go to the store, this is what you're going to buy. This is a half of a loin. Loins on both sides. Now we're going to take and roll this out. This is a back fat right here. When we were judging, we wanted to see a hog that had back fat no more than an inch. This one is an extremely good hog. It's got less than a half an inch. So it's a really good hog. So we're going to take that out. And we try to stay out of the pork chop because that's what we want here. Now, I'm working a little bit fast because it's going to be a warm day today. We want to go ahead and get this done, but I want y'all to see what we're doing. That's amazing. Okay, this is back fat with a little bit of lean meat in it. This is what we use to make sausage out of. These pieces of skin like this, they would take and cut it like this and leave the skin just like you use a fillet knife and fillet it right out. That worked really well. This is the loin. Now, there's several different ways you can cut the loin. If any of you are ever going to someplace like Acre Station or Leighton Store up here in Belvedere and get them to cut up a whole loin for you, there's several different ways you can do it. You can cut it like this. We're going to lay that like that, and they will cut it like this, like a regular pork chop. Okay, you've got your pork chop, which is the loin out. That's the very end of it. It's loin out right here. You can cook it like this, which is fine. It's what most folks like it. Now, my granddaddy liked what he called shucky bone, which was corn backbone. They would take a loin like this. Instead of cutting it in thin pieces, they would cut it like this. They would cut it real thick, like that. And then, it still had the loin eye in it, but he didn't want that. So what he did, he would cut that in half. That would go into sausage meat. Then he would be left this part. Now normally the hog's carcass, this bone is still joined, but on this one we've got to cut it in two. That's what he would take. This would be packed into salt for 6 weeks plus 1 day for every day it was freezing. That would allow the salt to get to it, and then they would take it out and wash it, sometimes put black pepper on it. Some people smoked it, some people didn't. Most folks just wanted it salt. Some of them would leave it in salt for a long, long time and let it keep. Others would hang it up, just depending on what you want. So, alright, now if you go to the grocery store, you can buy bone in or bone out. So I'm going to attempt to bone this out. I'll switch over to a smaller knife. It follows the contours of the bone a lot better. We're going to do this. There we are. What I'm doing is I'm taking out the ribs. All right, let's turn it around this way. Ready? Now I'm taking these ribs out with a little bit of meat on them. You could have what we call fat ribs and skinny ribs. You could take and leave some meat on them or leave the meat off, just depending on how you want it or what the boss said. Okay. Now, when you go to get ribs, you may get something to look like this. This is off the backbone here. Now you can take and cut this like this. Break the bone. There's your spare ribs. And we got some people here that you want to go ahead and get these. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to cook some of these right now and allow you to sample. After you cook them, got my here you go. Yeah. Okay. We're going to break this. Hold it one side. Alright, now, there's your loin. Boneless. So this is ready to cut up. And if you're going to buy it, boneless loin is the way to go. You don't have to buy all that bone and pay for that. So we're going to put that right there. Take that with you. Now, this part right here, this is called the middling. This is where you get your streak of lean, streak of fat for you older people who know what I'm talking about. This is sometimes how you would see it in store with the ribs still in it. But some people like it in, some people like it out. So we're going to take these ribs out so I can show you how we trim the middling up. We're going to turn it around this way, and we're going to peel that out. Now if you do this yourself, you need to be careful, because this is where you cut your fingers off right here, trying to peel this out. So you just run your knife right down there, it comes right out.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
It don't matter.
Got that right there. So we got a little more right here. Okay. That's more spare rib. This has got a lot of meat on it. And some people like it that way, some people don't. So we're going to let them cut these up in like ribs like they want. Now, the middling you have to be careful with. This is a bone here that has to come out. This is the end of the ribs. Still got plenty of meat on it. This is what the ladies in the house do when they were processing in the house. They would process that. Now, this is where your bacon comes from also. It's firmed up and it's sliced on the machine to get the bacon out of it. What we're going to do, we're going to trim this up a little bit, because when we salt it, we don't want all this loose stuff here. That's no good. It won't take salt good like it ought to do. Got a little extra fat here we need to take off. And we're going to take off a little bit of meat right here. And we're going to take off the end right here. Now you can see right here, there's your streak of fat and streak of lean meat right here. Right there. That's where you see it. That's your bacon. So we're going to get this straightened up a little bit here. Cut off this end a little bit. Now there's another good example of a streak of lean, streak of fat right there. Okay, here's our finished middling. This middling will be packed in salt, skinned down like that. Put an inch of salt on it and pack another middle on top of it and stack them right on up. But you want a lot of salt in there, it takes a lot to cure it. Salt will not go through the skin. So it wouldn't be any good to go like this. You'd lose it. So we turn it like that. and pack them one on top of each other. This is about the size you might would see for a farmer. In the grocery store, it might be bigger or smaller depending on who's cutting. Because it's a lot easier to cut a middle and leave it large. Well, we always like to have it small. All right. Now we've done one side. Now let's go to the front end. Like I said, this one is a cut a little different than what I'm normally used to cutting. But I'm going to cut it right down the middle here. Now, this skin is kind of tough, so you have to be careful with it. And look out for your fingers. All right. Sometimes when you go to the grocery store, you're going to see a shoulder looks like this, minus a foot. But you'll see them, we've got all that in there. The reason they do that is they can make more money that way. And they get lazy, they don't have to cut it out. But we're going to cut ours out. This part right in between here, the neck muscles up here, if this was a normal carcass like I'm used to, we would cut that crossways and make pork steaks out of it. Pork steak, make them about a ½ inch thick, rub them in old plantation sausage season with rubbed sage, put it on the grill. In about 8 minutes, you're going to have the best eating you have ever had in your life. It's absolutely delicious. It's got a lot of flavor in it because the mussels that move have more flavor in it than the mussels that don't move. So we're going to see if we can take this out. Stay this way. Now you don't want to go too deep into the shoulder because we're going to be hanging that up and we want plenty of meat on the shoulder. It rolls right out. It's no big deal. It comes right out. Right down here. And we're going to take out the rest of the neck bone too.
Are you just teaching people how to carve it?
Ma'am?
Are you teaching people how to carve it? Is that what you're doing here?
Yeah, it's a demonstration we're doing here. Okay. Now, we've got part of the rib in here, part of the neck. This normally is boned out, put in sausage meat. Some folks like to salt it and have it for middle of the meat, depending on how big the family is. If you had a huge family, had 14 kids in it, you fed them a lot of beans, you needed a lot of meat to season with. All right, now, you can look at our shoulder here. There's a membrane here. We do not want to puncture that. That is a good place. It tells you basically where to stop. So we're going to trim this a little bit and take off some of this meat here. This is the end of your pork loin. This is the part that we make pork steaks out of if we had the carcass cut in a different fashion. But that's real good meat. And you can see here on the shoulder. All right, now, let me get this little bit off here. All right. Now, a lot of places you go are going to leave the shoulder just like this. It's going to be square. You can have extra skin up here. It really doesn't cure that good, but a lot of stores will make it this way. So I'm going to show you the way that we used to do it at home. We would take off all this down here, like this. You take that off. And instead of making it square, we made it round. So we don't want to puncture that bone right there. So we come around like this. See, we take that off. And we take off this little end right here. A little bit up here.
What are you doing? I ain't seen you. Shut my pocket through the line. That's why I take 5 minutes.
All right. Now, when we put up a shoulder, we put it up like this. Mama would take this and we would slice it sideways to get middle of meat. But now let's work on a foot. Let me show you what a foot looks like. When you're putting up meat, you want to cut the bone at a solid joint. You don't want to cut it when it's loose and floppy, because you're going to run a piece of steel wire through here after it's salted, and you're going to hang it up to smoke it. So we want to cut our bone at the right place. So we're going to go out here, and you can feel it. There's a little notch right there. That's where we're going to cut. Now it's hard. This bone is hard. I'm telling you folks, this bone is hard. All right. That's what we want it to look like. It's a nice solid bone there. See that solid bone? So with that piece of meat, when we hang it up, when we take it out of the salt, we will wash this piece of meat. And while it's wet, we'll pat it with black pepper and red pepper. And take borax, like you buy from the store, put in your clothes, and rub these bones. The reason we do that is to keep something called skippers out. Skippers is a real small fly. If it gets in your meat and lays an egg in there, the meat will rot. You think a skunk smells bad, it's 10 times worse. So you want to avoid that happening. So you would pack the shoulder just like this, skin down, put an inch of salt on it. We put another one here and go across our meat tray and put at least 1 inch of salt on it. What we call medium coarse salt. Not the real coarse, not real fine, but the medium coarse. If you put salt that's too fine, it'll bridge over and won't salt meat. If you put it too coarse, it won't melt good enough. So you got to hit that happy medium in there. So anyhow, that's what a shoulder would look like. Now, we're going to come back here to the hams. Everybody likes a good ham. All right. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the tail right here. Now, it's good seasoning meat. Everybody thinks the tail's got to be terrible, but actually it's really good seasoning meat. So we cut on each side of it. We get it down here. All right, we got that cut. Now we're going to cut on both sides of it. So when we take it out to begin with, it looks like this. Wow. But there's a lot of meat here. Some folks want to leave it on, some folks want to take it off. I'm going to take it off. All right, that's the part we were putting the smoke out right there. Pigtails. You go to the late store, you can buy them today. Pigtails. Real good seasoning meat. Now, the ham, you got to take special care with the ham. This is what a ham looks like before it's trimmed. But we're going to trim it up, make it round, make it look like a ham. You notice this bone right here. Very important you put borax on that bone. If you don't, you're going to have trouble. So we're going to take a little bit off of here. Like this. Now here's something you need to see. This is called a kernel. It's a little piece of meat that grows in the fat. Some folks eat it, I don't. I don't know what it is, but I don't eat it. I mean, it doesn't look right to me. So we're not going to eat that. Anyhow, we're going to trim this ham. Well, let me show you something here. Right while we got it here. You know, a while ago we cut out that tenderloin? That's the end of it right there. That's the end of the tenderloin. So we're gonna finish taking that out like this. Like that. Then we're gonna trim around here like this. Now you don't want to cut this too close, because if you get too close to this bone, you make a hollow underneath it and the salt won't take. There's what a finished ham looks like. That's what we would finish a ham off. Then we would take and do just like we did before. The hog will tell you where to cut. You just got to feel it. It comes only from experience where to cut them. Nice solid bone. We want solid bone all the way. That way we don't have to worry about the skippers getting in it. So there's our finished ham. Now when we would salt this, we would salt it skin down, just like that. And this takes more salt because the meat is a lot thicker. So you put more salt on this than you would any of the rest of it. Once it's cured, the salt, we poke a hole through here, through the hop, and it's hung up, and that's where we get our smoke. Sometimes Mother would have what we would call corned ham. Corned ham is ham that's only been salted, not smoked. And she would have that for eat. It's white, whereas your smoked ham is going to be a dark red color. So that takes care of that. All right. Right now, has anybody got any questions that I can answer? I'm going to be here for a while. I'm going to take the rest of this out. But this pretty much concludes our demonstration. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, I'm going to stay around for a while. I'll be glad to answer any questions. If it's not like you did it, well, too bad. This is the way I did it. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Come back and see us next year.